I feel like I'm up in the women's bathroom is the way it's echoing here.
Now, how would you know about that, though? That's the question.
I'm just guessing that would be a good place to do a podcast.
Is that a toilet flushing in the background?
Bryan Martin coming to you from SCI's women's bathroom. Guess which one, and you win a free Marco Polo hunt.
Guided by Bryan himself.
Exactly.
Ding!
We never talk about women, cars, guns, or politics. If we did that, I wouldn't be able to talk about anything. Yeah, it's about gear and knowing how to do it. Make sure you got a good sleeping pad and everything. So, yeah, I know that Marco Polo is really awesome to hunt, but it's also not for the faint of heart when you do it the right way. But unfortunately, a lot of big Marco Polo are not shot the way that is, becoming of a Marco Polo, really. Why would you have a $4,000 spotting scope and a $150 tripod, right? It's like having a Ferrari and going and putting smart car tires on it. It's like useless. You can only drive at 100 miles an hour.
Welcome to the RNA Outdoors podcast, fueled by Ripcord Arrow Rest and First Light Hunting Apparel. At RNA, we are public land DIY conservationists that love to share our passion for the outdoors. So join us and our team as we interview professionals in the industry to share insight knowledge that helps make hunters and anglers more successful. Hey listeners, subscribers, and fellow outdoorsmen and women. This is your host, Lucas Paw, and I'm excited to tell you about some of the sponsors that continue to help make this podcast not only happen, but grow and thrive in this digital world of audio content. This podcast is brought to you by Ripcord Arrow Rest, the bow hunter's #1 fall-away rest on the market. Ripcord is known for 100% full-time arrow containment and their patented drop-dead brake system that eliminates launcher bounce back. Best of all, Ripcord is backed by their rock-solid guarantee. If the original owner has a part break for any reason, it will be repaired or replaced at no charge. And did I mention? Ripcord is located in southwest Montana, where all their products are made with pride in America. Check them out at ripcordarrowrest.com and on their social media feeds. This podcast is brought to you by First Light Clothing and Hunting Apparel. Born in the Rockies in central Idaho, First Light's mission is to create simple, yet proven, versatile gear that provides comfort and performance in any situation while working to promote the pursuit of ethical hunting and stewardship. I recently joined the First Light Pro Staff team and have continued to be impressed year after year in their innovations in engineering of merino wool fabrics. 10 years ago, they started putting out wool fabrics with camo patterns, and immediately this changed the game. Since then, they offer multiple layering systems and kits in various proprietary patterns and continue to raise the bar with their competition. Find them online at firstlight.com or under their social media feeds. Go farther, stay longer. All right, so we are sitting here at SCI, and this is day 4. Is it the last day?
This is the last day.
Last day. Brian's like, God, I can't wait to get out of here.
It's his birthday today, if you didn't know.
Is it your birthday? Are you
It
29?
is. Yeah. 29 going on 30-something.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, we're here at Asian Mountain Outfitters. Bryan Martin, he's no stranger to the podcast. We had him on a year or so ago from the Sheep Show, and we just thought we'd catch up with him today and maybe talk a little bit about how things have gone for him over the last year, and then maybe we could get on a little political rant, which Bryan typically never goes there ever in any conversation. So
Bryan?
We never talk about women, cars, guns, or politics.
Yeah.
If we did that, I wouldn't be able to talk about anything.
That's true. We can talk about religion. We can't talk about
food.
guns.
we can talk about food. Hey, we've talked about food on the podcast
But
before.
too many people talk about food. It's more fun to talk about something a little more interesting.
That's true.
Man, you killed a big sheep recently, huh?
I did. Yeah, it was about, I think 14 months ago now.
Seems like yesterday. Keep seeing it replayed over and over and over again.
I know, because the Eastmans, they ran their official show. The first one was a YouTube video. And then they ran their official one, I guess, here in December.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but they sent me a clip of it. I got to watch a little bit, but I haven't watched the whole
lived
thing.
it. You lived it, so you don't necessarily have to watch the show.
It's always interesting how people edit things for the twist to see how the storyline is. But,
Sure.
But I've heard it was pretty good.
It was. I watched it, just so you know.
That's
And
good.
you took Ike or Guy out?
It was Guy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I
I've
think
known the family for years, probably 25 years.
And the family's always, I mean, you didn't watch the show, so I watched it. The neat thing is they played the twist of, everybody wanting to.
Grandpa, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Everybody wanting to go, and then, they had to play on their camera guy that got sicker than shit on the trip. And
Yeah, because when we were hunting, none of the video footage other than the very first day of Marco Polo was filmed by the camera guy. It was all filmed. I filmed all of it with my camera, my phone camera. And the guy and I took turns filming different shots and segments. And then when we actually went to shooting, the interpreter actually did the filming.
Wow.
But we set it up on it. We just said, do not turn off the camera.
And it was all on a camera, on a phone.
No, couldn't do it. It was too hard for them under the heat of the moment. It was all underneath the professional digital video camera.
Gotcha.
Man,
wow, that's cool.
I mean, I could tell that the cameraman guy wasn't there, but they told us that early on that he was just sick from elevation sickness. But it was still, you guys got some good little clips, and then there was a couple other clips that I could tell you guys, there was camera sitting on the ground and it was just running, and I was like, who's manning the camera? Because we're getting a great shot of like feet and the top of the heads are getting cut off, and they used it, but
it makes it more authentic that way.
It was your audio that you guys were.
They wanted the audio. Yeah, the audio was very authentic.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
That's what you want to get out of that, I think. You want the authenticity of the actual, because like you say, you can do all the B-roll and make it look great, or you can actually show what actually was the hunt like, right? The goods and the bads.
Yeah. Yeah,
because
he just smiled.
For the people that are
stuff.
listening, he's smirking over there. There's more shit going on in his head right now. He's
it was funny just how everything worked, because I killed the ram and we didn't know if my ram was hit or not. And I ran over the edge because I could see him disappear. And then there was 11 rams when I shot. And then when they came underneath us, there was only 10. And I did a quick check with my gun scope right from the front of the herd to the back. I did not see the ram because mine was distinct looking versus the other ones. There was a couple really big ones, 58 to 61s, a couple.
Wow.
And so we did those. And I could see that, okay, I said, Guy, you need to shoot one of these other ones. I can't, let's pick one out. But they were coming by fast. Not super fast, but by the time the camera guy got ready and Guy got ready, now they're coming fast.
Sure.
They came underneath us at about 110 yards.
Wow,
but it was
that's close.
It was no good shot for camera shot. Because the cameraman really wasn't understanding what was going on until I said, hey, they're right here. And then when they came out to our left, and you can see in the video footage that they were going away and they're starting to get distance on us, and we tried to decide, the first one's big, the third one's big. Just really at that point, you better shoot one.
Field judge them, and
Yeah, you guys have been at it for a while.
Well,
same group, right?
Yeah, we couldn't really pick out the biggest one and shoot it at that point. He shot probably the biggest base ram, but definitely not the longest one. But it was a great ram. I mean, it scores way up. I mean, it still scores very well.
Sure.
But it's just when you see a ram like mine, then the other ones you think, well, those aren't that big, but they actually were big. Mine was just exceptionally rare to see one like that.
That was an incredible ram.
What, didn't you say that was one of the biggest rams that you had seen in how many years?
It's the biggest one I've ever seen.
So, and how many years have you been doing this?
Since 2005 there and since 2002 in Kyrgyzstan.
Nice.
So now I've seen some that were close. I've seen some bigger based, of course, but I've never seen one that had everything like that.
And you sent a picture of me of the one here at the show.
Yeah, and that was bigger than this one.
Okay. Wow.
But the thing is, behind every big ram, you don't really know the whole story on how they're killed.
Sure.
Sometimes it's really great, and sometimes the story is really not worthy of what the ram is.
Yeah.
Because these animals are hard, and sometimes the guys have them pre-scouted and everything, and the hunters show up and shoot them. Like this one, what I liked about it, nobody knew it was there. This area's like that, though. Big ones can show up anytime.
Sure, anytime, yeah.
So we just went hunting. It's like, oh, my God, what is this thing?
Where'd he come up from?
Yeah.
So what, you actually saw that group of rams, what, quite a few days earlier, and you just focused on
We killed
them?
it on the 5th day that we chased it.
5 days.
Yeah.
That's some elevation.
That's a pursuit. That's cool.
Yeah, and we had to change where we came from because you couldn't see it from where we originally went. It went too far in. We had to relocate, spend the night out in a shepherd's hut. I had a tent. I prefer this to stay in the tent and sleep in the yak shit and everything. But they didn't have warm enough sleeping bags.
What was the temperatures?
Minus 13 at night. Minus 10, minus 13
Sure.
Fahrenheit.
Nice and warm.
I've had way worse. I've spent nights at minus 28, 29, minus 30 out. So minus 13 is not bad.
That's doable.
Holy shit, both of you guys are nuts.
You just got to have good gear.
Yeah, it's all about gear, right?
Yeah, it's about
that.
gear and knowing how to do it. Make sure you got a good sleeping pad and everything.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I know that Marco Polo is really awesome to hunt, but it's also not for the faint of heart when you do it the right way. But unfortunately, a lot of big Marco Polo are not shot the way that is becoming of a Marco Polo, really, because they have a lot of vehicle acid, and a lot of hunters deal with high altitude sickness, and they end up shooting pretty close to vehicles because of the terrain. You can get fairly close to the vehicle.
Sure.
And how many?
Cool.
I love this topic because one of these days this is like on my bucket list. Hopefully, I won't be too old when it happens. I might be that guy driving around the freaking Jeep.
Oh yeah.
I hate to say it, but what kind of elevation are you talking?
Well, we shot my ram at 16.2. Guys died at 16.3, and we had to go over the mountain at 16.5. Most of the time, we shoot them between 14.5 and 15.5.
So
if they're not spooked.
In the acclimatization time frame, could it be?
It's going to take several days.
Yeah.
They say I think 2,500 feet a day to get really good acclimatization. So if you come from 5,000 feet, to go to 10,000 would take a couple days.
Sure.
15,000 feet in theory would take 4 days.
4 days, yeah.
At least. And so that's why a lot of the guys end up hunting them from Jeeps and some of the other camps, because they don't allow enough time for the hunting. And then if you go too hard the first couple of days, you have what happened to Dan, the camera guy. He went too hard and got sick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
So you got to let your body naturally adjust. There is no magic pill to take to it's like kind of like a fat pill, right? You can take a fat pill, but you still gotta go to the gym.
You gotta look at the salad, and you gotta be in the gym.
Yeah, you can take a pill to make you so you don't get as sick, but it won't necessarily increase your performance substantially.
Sure.
Yeah.
So where did your ram end up on the list?
At the time I shot him, number 16, but when he, because he's top 20, you have to have an official master measure scoring.
Yeah.
So if a couple of the guys shoot big ones that are in the top 20, then that score will hold, which will probably happen. If there's a couple of other really big ones that have been shot in the last 1 year, and other guys maybe entered him, but at the time it was 16.
Wow.
That's phenomenal.
I'll probably just wait to let him. A couple. I know some of the other ones that were shot would score more if the guys will enter them. But
Still a great ram.
That's awesome, dude.
The score, he doesn't have the bases to score as big as some of the other ones. There's some of the other ones have 16.5-inch bases, and he has 15. So if you know your bighorns, a 15-inch base ram versus 16.5 is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
We go from a 190 something to a 205. So same thing here.
Still,
I'm not worried about the score.
No, I'm just, anything that actually ends up in the book is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anything in the top 100 is, holy crap. It's just phenomenal thinking about it. So, and then, you look around here at other animals and other pictures, and you're just like, all of those things are fan-freaking-tastic.
There's a lot of giant sheep in that part of the world. If you're a good hunter and have some luck and don't shoot too early and don't miss, almost every hunter is going to shoot a good animal over there. Very acceptable and much bigger on average than a similar, North American animal.
Sure.
Now, if you draw a Montana break stag or something, that's different. But
yeah, you're going to be picky there.
Yeah.
Plus, you got a month to hunt too, so.
Yeah.
It's the dreams, right? Everybody that's walking around here looks at that and goes, man, one of these days, or I'd love to do that, or oh my God, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to be able to do that. That's just ridiculous. But you have horses in some of the pictures, but that particular trip you had
no horses.
Yeah,
human horses.
2 legs.
Yeah. I still remember back in the day when you were writing all the review articles on every piece of gear and your packs that you were packing up and all that kind of crap. I was like,
I still need to do more of that because a lot of people like that, and it's hard to get really good, accurate information out there.
It is.
so technical, and that's one
there's
thing
so
that
much
you
gear
always
out there now.
delved into.
What's that again?
There's so much gear out there now. It's
Well, the thing is, it's really easy. All you need to know is the fundamentals of the gear, and then you can choose. It doesn't matter if it's a QU or a Sitka or Arc'teryx or Cryptic. Really, at the end of the day, you have to look for certain things in certain products, and you can get great. I mean, each company has certain products that are Excel, and then there's other companies have. I mean, some companies have a very similar line on certain things. So just like packs, I mean, what was a great pack for one guy may not be for the next.
Sure.
But there's certain things to look for. If you don't have the big enough buckles, if you don't have a strong enough boot sole, it's eventually going to fail much quicker. So ultralight is an issue for like guides and people who travel around the world and can't have stuff failing. Because the lighter it is, the more expensive it is, and the more quickly it looks in a break.
Sure.
Usually. Or again, if you lightweight to get the lightweight. Sometimes you have to spend a lot of money.
You have to sacrifice other things too. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are some new technologies out there, but still the good basics, are still hard to beat. I mean, there's still a place for good wool clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, merino wool came back. It used to be the itchy, scratchy wool that we had to wear.
Yeah.
Merino's
come a long ways.
But anyway, if you had to spend the night in the mountain all the time, you're still better off in wool than the fleeces.
Sure.
Because you can lay beside a fire.
Yep.
And it's better when it's wet, and it's actually more wind resistant than fleece.
Yeah.
The only way to get fleece wind resistant is to put membranes and stuff in it, which don't breathe as well. And you can have issues. So most of the people though that they go out, they don't sleep by a fire like the old mountain men used to.
Yeah.
But if you ever get wet, miserable, have to spend the night in the mountain. It's
being wet in general.
For me,
is
the
miserable.
puffy jackets are some of the nicest things.
The down jackets.
Down and synthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are some of the nicest products we have out there for keeping warm when you're sitting and glassing.
Yep.
And then the footwear technology is better now too.
I'm a foot whore when it comes to boots. I just sent my Kinetrex in to have them recobbled because they were about 7-8 years and needed new insoles.
I've never worn
soles.
a boot for 7-8 years. I have boots that are 7-8 years old that I don't even know why I hang on to them, just because they're kind of like keepsakes or whatever. But most of the time, if I get a good pair of boots, it's pretty well done in about a year.
Yeah, well, how many days in the field are you out?
Yeah.
You're a little different than most people.
Well, you probably have a lot of boots and you can rotate them. If you can rotate your boots, they'll last a lot longer.
And I don't wear my Kinetrex in the summertime when we're chasing elk and we're chasing deer. I'm wearing basically tennis shoes.
And I can't do that. My ankles won't handle it.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking at the country that you're talking about, especially, over there, it's all rocky, cobbly, top of the mountain, no tree line, no soft stuff.
And the boot soles wear out a lot quicker than a California forest.
It'll just eat it alive.
Yeah, the sharp. Well, I've had a pair of Keeneland boots that shredded the sole in a month on northern BC and a Northwest Territories trip. 2 or 3 sheep hunts, totally gone, brand new.
Wow.
Down to cut through the leather on the front of the toe. Jeez. The whole front was gone, and that was like a $400 boot.
Yeah.
So less than 30 days, and it was done.
Wow.
30 days of actual hiking time in the mountains, all the shale and the scree. I call it the Rocky Mountain Shale. That's on the east side of the Rockies in northern Canada. It's much rougher that way.
Yeah, it's tough on gear for sure.
Yeah, they're not the slick granite like that kind of rock that has the when it rains, all the lichen gets slippery.
Yeah.
It's a sharper, really grayish type shale that you see like in the Prophet Musquat and then the NWT. All the NWT has is full of it.
You take one step and you take 3 steps back sometimes in that shale.
Yeah, and that just shreds your shoes. Yeah, very, very sharp.
Where you take that one step and you slide that extra bit and all.
Well, it's great going downhill, not great for going uphill.
I don't know. My knee doesn't think it's great going downhill. My knee would rather go up the hill.
That's what usually happens. The knees are fatigued more going down.
Yeah. All that weight on your...
because when I snapped my knee I snapped a few months before I shot that Marco Polo, so I had to do the season without the ACL.
How is that doing now? Is your knee good? Or?
It's better, but it's not ideal. I hyperextended a couple times last year in August guiding some sheep hunters.
Do you have to wear a brace or anything on it?
I'm supposed to, but I didn't.
Of course. Why would I wear that? Why would I do that?
Because it hurt. The brace hurt my leg.
Probably restricts you a little bit too.
A little bit, but what it was doing, it was chafing and digging in the back of my leg and making my leg bleed. And I didn't know I should have. They actually sell like a spandex, like
a sleeve or something.
Exactly. I didn't have that on, and so it was bleeding a couple times, and there was too much pain, and I don't like that much annoyance. So I said screw it. But then I had a couple times. If I had it, I probably wouldn't have partially hyperextended it twice. So it was definitely loose.
The trade-off.
Man, that's painful.
You shot nice moose too. That Shiras moose you shot.
It's not bad. Last day of the season moose.
Last day of the season.
But not many people ever shoot a moose in Wyoming. There's not many people that get that opportunity.
20 years of applying.
Yeah.
Max points. I keep
It was
wondering.
a 40-inch moose. Like I think it was eight points per side. I never saw a giant one. It was the biggest one I saw.
Still a trophy.
How many days did you put in the field for yourself?
Hard hunting, probably 8, and then probably easy days hunting, probably another 5.
That's good. That's
five,
good.
Five, something like that.
That's good.
But no terrible hard days. I had one day that was really bad, probably, for me, with my knee and stuff in the snow. I mean, I didn't stop but to drink water and have a granola bar in 6 hours twice.
Wow. So you were motoring.
Just tracking a big bull.
Okay, so between you two, I think you could probably carry me off and on. This should work out pretty good. He's been a machine lately. I mean, that's good. Yeah.
This is my first time I was at the gym in a long time today. The first time in months.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was going to do it as soon as I got back, and I got that bad cold, and I felt better this morning.
Good.
So our Tajikistan partner and I, we went to the gym for about 45 minutes. Feels good, actually.
Yeah.
I can actually feel my shoulders like tingling and like they're like alive. That's the first time I'd done any weights forever. I used to go quite a bit, really.
Well,
and,
I'm not much of a gym guy, but
he'll run me. He'll run me in the ground.
But I think the nice thing about a gym is, for me, I don't like to stretch and do that stuff much at home. So if I go to the gym, I'll get on a mat and do it and just do everything. It's just better focus. It's like doing your office work. It's easier to do it at the office than it is at your kitchen table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's just the concept of doing it. Now, if you don't have it, there's some good. I just download some apps when I was flying back from Tajikistan on my phone that have a bunch of like body weight type exercises. Mm-hmm. I do better when I have a plan written out. Otherwise, I just do 1 or 2 and say, screw it, this is boring. I don't want to do it anymore. I need to make some phone calls or something. But that's why if I go to the gym and allocate an hour or an hour and a half, I mean, you just can't just rely on strictly your hunting and hiking to get you in shape. Because that doesn't work your core, though. And just hiking doesn't build fast twitch muscles. And so sometimes you lose some of that bouncy agility that you would have by doing some more powerful lifting. I know that's why a lot of people do CrossFit and other kinds of, interval training, so you have a little more explosion. Because otherwise you're just like a big slug the whole day.
Yeah.
Out there at 2 to 3 miles an hour with the pack, grinding it out. You're a grinder. Yeah,
you can grind it out. But like you say, if you got to hit a rock or something happens quick and you got to respond quick, you may not have that.
Well, you still do. Actually, hiking is really good. As far as foot agility, balance, but you don't have that speed that you would do. I mean, I know it's, dancing and yoga and those kind of things are good for people, actually.
Not much of a yoga guy, but
either am I.
Hot yoga.
I bet he'd be good at hot yoga.
I'd be in the back of the room.
Yeah. With sunglasses on.
Exactly.
Because your eyes will be looking over here and the instructor's in front.
What's that one move they do?
Yeah.
The downward dog.
Yeah, the downward dog.
See, what a bait.
Here we go.
That was throw it out there. I'm sitting there going, wait, Brian's going to take it. Brian's going to take it. Yep, Brian got it. There we go.
There's no hesitation.
There's no hesitation. No hesitation. Well, the reality is in this game, talking about weight cut and all that kind of stuff, everybody's buying a lighter rifle, buying a lighter pack and all those things. And as you mentioned, some of those things don't withhold under extreme pressures. Some people always...
I don't like ultralight anything.
Yeah. One of my friends told me, he goes, Jason, if you just lose 5 pounds, that means it wouldn't matter if your gun weighed, 9 pounds versus 6.
Mm-hmm.
Because it balances out. And the reality is, we all know a heavier gun, if you're shooting long distance, is going to be way stabler than a lightweight gun.
Yeah.
So just interesting how you justify things, right?
Oh yeah.
Both sides, but anyway.
Yep. Pluses and minuses to both.
Pluses and minuses.
You just have to be wise in what you cut weight with.
Exactly.
If you go too much minimalist, and if something goes wrong, you're not going to do well out there.
I found that
I don't know how guys have told me they can go with 40 pounds. I can't. I day hunt with 40 pounds.
And that's what I find with my pack. It's what are those few critical certain things you can live
with 40
without.
pounds. I need 20.
Well, you can't because I have I use a CT Travel Swarovski tripod. No bullshit little lay on the ground tripods.
Yeah, they're heavy.
And I have a full size 82 mil Leica, or I recommend like the 85 or something Swarovski. You don't need the 95, but that's 9 1/4 pounds for those two. Gun is 9. I always pack usually 10 to 13 rounds of ammo. So I don't ever pack like 3 or 4, even though you normally need 3 or 4, but it's just like having a spare tire.
Yep.
You might need it one day. So you're at 18 to 19 pounds, minimum almost 20 for that.
Your
A good
pack's 5
pack,
to 7 pounds.
Yep, and that's without water.
Yep.
You got to pack at least 1.5 liters, 2 liters of water. So usually I do 2 liters. That's 4 pounds. Now you're up to over you're 30 pounds. Now you need rain gear. You need a puffy jacket. You need a dry pair of socks, dry T-shirt, another jacket. You need first aid
little bit
stuff.
of
You need
food.
your cape bag. You need all that stuff. You're at 40 pounds. Like
I'm easy
minimum
40.
35 to 40.
Yeah. If I got some of my camera gear and stuff, I'm easily at 40 pounds.
And I have
in a day
a
pack.
headlamp. Sometimes I'll take 2 headlamps because with the groups I've had guys forget to pack extra batteries, so you go through and make sure they got extra batteries. So yeah, you cannot day hunt in the mountains properly with less than 35 to 40 pounds, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you want to, in these,
with you.
why would you have a $4,000 spotting scope and a $150 tripod? Right? It's like having a Ferrari and going and putting smart car tires on it. It's like useless.
Yeah.
You can only drive at 100 miles an
That's
hour.
a good point. Yeah.
So
the
why
base is
have,
always
why have a
important.
spotting scope that's going to be shaking in the wind and vibrating and it's annoyance? I can always tell. And to me, if you don't shoot with a bipod on your gun for long-range shooting, if you try and shoot off of a pack, and if you try and use a pack or cheap you are not a great shooter and you're not a great glasser. You never can be because you don't have the right tools.
Yeah. Well, we've sworn by binoculars on tripods. I mean, that's
15s on tripods is just
that's a standard
it's
anymore.
It's a standard.
That's kick ass.
You got to put the time in. I was talking actually to a couple people, and my son was there, and he's 14, and he doesn't know any different because he's always grown up with good optics and stuff. And he'll grab the Leicas, and he just assumes that's the way everybody's done. Well, we were talking to a couple other people, and one of his younger buddies goes, "Oh yeah, we saw this great buck, and he was like 350 yards and blah blah blah." And my kid's like, "Well, why didn't you kill him?" He's like, "Oh well, we couldn't shoot that far." And my kid's like, "What? We practice at 600 yards." And it was just funny watching my son kind of get the cold realization of you mean everybody doesn't do this? I'm like, no, I remember in the day when like we were happy at 100 yards, and hitting a pie pan, and that ain't the way it is now. We have the technology, but all of his shots lately have been all really close because we still try to get into that bubble if you can.
Oh, absolutely.
We have the technology to go further if you need to.
Yeah, you still can't make up for good hunting skills with technology. You can maybe if you're a client, but not as a hunter.
That's true.
Somebody
That's a good
still
point.
has to know how to hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
Trail cameras and stuff have helped, but but a lot of these guys who shoot these big animals, the guides are pre-scouting and out there scouting all the time, and the hunter shows up and maybe doesn't really fully appreciate how much work went into it.
Sure. He probably doesn't even know. He shows up on a plane, shoots it, gets back on his plane, and he's gone.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens all the time.
That's why I don't judge the ability of the hunter by the size of the animal a lot of times.
Sure.
We were talking earlier in a podcast, and we made a comment. It's about the experience, not necessarily about the inches. Not to say that we don't try to kill the biggest thing that we can, but it's about the experience, because I feel closer to God or our Creator when I'm on top of that mountain watching the wildlife move underneath me through a pair of 15s than anywhere else. I don't care what building you put me in and what preacher you put me in front of. It doesn't match. And I think if I could take those people with me, that they'd see that, but most of them are never going to go there.
No, it makes you more in touch. But I mean, it's you don't want to let the inches of the animal dictate the success of the hunt.
Amen.
But at the same time, I wouldn't. If I was only shooting female animals, I wouldn't be hunting either. Sure. I mean, I would do it once. It was not challenging for me. It would be like driving a car that never goes more than 40 miles an hour. I would get really bored quickly. And so for me, hunting that big animal is a challenge, and it's it gives you something to go for. Because too many hunters are goal-oriented too much and not fun-oriented. Because hunting should be fun and not just a goal.
Well, we all get to that point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to shoot a raghorn bull anymore because I'm looking for, a mature 6-point or whatever, and you're okay eating your tag, if you don't end up killing a mature 6-point.
It's like a weightlifter saying, okay, I've already benched 150 pounds. I want to do 200 in 2 months. And then they want, somebody start from, you got to have realistic goals. But if you say, well, I'm going to bench, if I don't bench 500 pounds, by the time I'm 25 years old, I'm a loser, right? Like, that's stupid also.
Yeah, that's an unrealistic goal.
Yeah, so some people put unrealistic goals on themselves, and then they also make it not fun. So I mean, I have a saying because we talk about bow hunters and this is probably my favorite, new analogy I have. Bow hunting, because they always want to go, what about bow hunting internationally? Like I said, but the guides don't understand bow hunting. What they do understand is some of the old guides used to poach with shotguns and 22 long rifles, which is similar to bow hunting. You got to get 100 yards or so.
Sure.
So, I mean, for that reason, they can understand it. But, I mean, for a lot of guides, bow hunting is something that's really foreign for them. So bow hunting it's kind of like masturbation. It's a lot easier, better to do it by yourself sometimes than to have an audience. And that's
a good analogy.
It is. It is a very personal thing. And also a lot of people, again, they distract from what you really want to do. Bow hunting it takes a lot more time and a lot more skill.
Sure. Well, you got to be close.
Yeah, not necessarily more skill in certain things, but getting close and being patient. And the patience, I mean, I've always said you can kill anything you want with a bow, but it might take you a week instead of like an hour.
Sure.
So
That's
if you're
true.
willing to sit out there and live, you'll watch that bastard and get hungry and cold. Eventually, he's going to do something stupid, and he's going to walk right into your lap. But the difference with a rifle, I can push that envelope to maybe an hour or two. A bow hunting, you may not be able to push it. It might be a day, 2, 3 days, a week, and that's the difference.
We've all been there.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily the guy's a better hunter. A lot of it's more patient.
Yeah.
And also, he when he does get that opportunity, he can't screw it up.
You got to capitalize when it's there.
Yeah.
Because it may be that one time.
And so to take a guide along and have him understand that experience is very difficult.
Especially in a foreign country.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they haven't done it themselves
So if
either.
you're not a super highly skilled bow hunter, I mean like super skilled and passionate, do not bow hunt international countries where they don't understand bow hunting. It's a waste of time.
Well,
It's interesting.
I love to bow hunt, but I also look at it as
What's realistic?
I tried to figure out ways to be able to hunt more early on.
Well,
And
there's a reason we do it, but international, they don't have bow laws.
correct. So
It's a North American thing.
yeah, that's exactly it.
It is.
It was all about expanding the time to be able to hunt
And hunting around busy areas where there's houses and stuff like that.
And it helped me too because it put me more days in the field and it made me better at everything else. I mean, when I was bow hunting, a lot of times I wouldn't get anything. But as soon as rifle season rolled around, I was shooting nice animals at like 35 yards with a high-powered rifle. You know, you're like...
Oh, it does make you better bow
You know.
hunter, or you just hunt the open sights or 30-30 or something. Whatever it is, whatever the tool, you just say, I'm going to get close.
But it is
But
pretty
it's hard,
wild.
though. When you are hunting giant animals, I have a really good rule. As soon as he gives you a shot, you're pretty damn confident you can make. Do not screw around and get cocky and try and show off. Kill him now. Only one little mistake. One weather comes in, you may never see him again.
Yep. Wind
That's
hits,
actually
wind changes.
excellent advice.
Don't wait, I'm going to wait for the perfect shot. No, that is good enough. But you have to be highly skilled and know what your gun can do, what your bow can do, and you don't take the really risky shots with the bow. I mean, there's just too much shit to go wrong. You don't have the follow-up shots.
So
with a rifle in the open country, I have a quick ability to do a follow-up shot.
Sure.
And with the bow, you can't. But bow hunters still should always be ready for that follow-up shot because you never know. As soon as you shoot, you should be loaded. Put another arrow on the rest.
nocked and get ready to go.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, when you're international and you're doing that, are you still shooting the long range gun systems?
Always, because the long range works well for close range. I only shoot a 4 to 16 power scope, and I shoot more of a premium long range bullet. I don't shoot the extreme. I'm not shooting just like the burgers and stuff that don't really perform well at super close range on big animals. So now if I'm hunting just strictly bears and moose, I'm not going to shoot a VLD bullet probably.
Yeah.
I'll shoot a Barnes or I'll shoot a cutting edge or something that's still decent. I don't need to shoot a BC at .7 for a moose or a grizzly bear.
So if I remember right, do you have a Best of the West long range gun?
I do. I have several. I have a couple Borden rifles that I use. I have a Best of the West rifle. I'm getting another rifle from Snowy Mountain Gunworks.
Okay.
And do you have
Missoula,
one?
Montana.
Like mentally, I think of going on a
I use a
Marco
7.
Polo.
Well, on this mountain hunting, I used to use a 6.5-06 for years, but it's a hassle because you have to reload for it and you can't get new factory brass.
Yeah.
So I kind of made a rule. I'm not going to buy any guns anymore for hunting that I have to fire form the brass. That I can't at least buy something.
Go buy brass and start doing your own
Yeah,
loads.
like if you even an Ackley, you can like a 280 Ackley, you can buy brass now, or you can shoot a 280 Remington in it and fire form it if you have to. Now, technically, the best way to fire form stuff is like with a cream of wheat and all that. But I mean, when you do a 6.5/06, you had to take another case. I mean, you couldn't really just like fire form. You had to neck it down and change. There was no case out there.
It's like the 6.5-300. You got to shoot a box of those to get brass, and you're $100 a box. So
I think the 6.5 SOM or the 6.5 gap, people make brass for that now.
It's becoming more available.
So in regards to like your Asian, do you have a gun over there all time?
Some of the camps have guns that are decent, but I tell all the hunters they should always bring their own gun, and then if they don't have one, the guys have stuff that's good enough. I shot my rifle, my Marco Polo with a borrowed rifle, so.
Because I guess that's where I was going. Is I always love shooting my own gun, but at the same time, sometimes paperwork is a real pain in the ass to make that happen. And I know that you have quality stuff because I even read the old articles where you went to Australia and laid out there and shot a bazillion and a half rounds, just finding out, well, which bullet works at way the hell out there and which one doesn't, and the carnage that you left behind in those past days. So.
Oh, it does work. I mean, that's the proof's in the pudding, right?
But even at that, you think about it, elevation 16,000 feet, you got to have turrets for that. I mean, you really have to have a gun that's dialed ready to go at those elevations.
Well, if I can't hit my cell phone at 500 yards, I'm not happy. That's kind of a target.
Well, that's what you need to do to be proficient.
I'm going to tune the gun until it's shooting perfect.
You have to.
My buddy just borrowed the gun. He never shot past 380 yards with anything, and he's 42 or 43 years old. And we were Aoudad hunting, and I was really sick that day. I said, just take my gun. I said, you saw how it was shooting? Yeah, he said, yes. And I said,
driving tax.
I said, just dial it to whatever. Here's my rangefinder and binoculars, because his gun and rangefinder and binoculars didn't show up. And I said, just don't question it. If it says 620, dial it to 620. If it says 650, dial it to 650. And hold on, perfect trigger pull. It's like pound and a quarter, pound and a half pound jewel. And I said, do a dry fire or two with it just before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
same thing.
He said he hit within an inch of where he was holding at 650.
I tell my kids when they're practicing.
That's proficient.
When we're on the animal and they're laying down and they've got the gun on them, I'm like, okay, we got to do 2 dry fires. I said, take a deep breath and easy squeeze.
Yep.
And I go, okay, let's do it one more time.
Easy peasy. Right?
Yeah. As soon as I reload, put that third thing, I go, there's a shell in here. Do not put your finger on the trigger till you're ready to go. And I said, then it's deep breath, easy squeeze. And then I always ask them, are you ready? And they go, yeah. I said, okay, I'm ready. You go ahead and shoot whenever you feel comfortable. And almost every time you do that and you walk through that same process over and over again, when they pull that trigger, it's done.
Yeah.
You're simulating. Well, the thing is on Marco Polo hunting and all this stuff, though, it
sometimes don't have the time to do that.
And that's the difference.
That's where you have to be ready.
In the footage that you guys did have on that hunt, and it was...
You have to go now.
Hurry up and go.
And that's what separates the guys from the guys that have experience versus don't. The guys that don't have experience, don't have confidence, fail more than 50% of the time in that situation.
Yeah, it's high stress. High heart rate.
You hyper focus on what you need to do and just get it done. And
you could tell you guys did it, even though, like you said, you had not as great as footage as you would like.
Yeah.
You could tell from the audio what was going on and how,
just you didn't get much of my audio with when I shot mine, more guys.
Yeah. So cool.
So Bryan, what else? What other shows you got? So you're here for extended amount of time, right?
I'm going to Dallas. Don't have a booth there. Helping out my sister there. She does a shooting school with the Brandon Rock Canyon. Probably try and get some of my clients to go to a course and do that. Early May is probably when I'm going to try and be there. And then I'm going to help out my friends at Wild Hunting in Asia, Turkey. These guys. I do a lot of partnering with them in Turkey and Mongolia. So they have a booth there. Also, I'll bounce them back before those 2 booths. I got some meetings with some clients. Then I go to South Dakota and help my friends out with Rolling Bones. And then I go to the next show is Grand Slam in Las Vegas.
Elvis, okay.
Yeah, and then I go to Reno. Back to here, Sheep Show, and then I go to Salt Lake City.
Okay,
cool.
So
we'll run into you again.
If people need to get a hold of you, how did they get a hold of you?
Just AsianMountainOutfitters.com. The website's easy. You can go look us up on Instagram or Facebook. And if you really want to get a hold of me, you better try a couple times. Sometimes I've had a lot of people say, we couldn't get a hold of you. So this time of year it's pretty easy, but usually text message me.
Yeah, it seems to be the easiest.
Well, if it's during hunting season, you're in some mountain range somewhere, You got an inReach and a satellite phone. You're probably not returning phone calls too often.
I do sometimes. I'm not as good about it as I used to. But it depends on. Sometimes I'm perfect, and other times I'm a disaster. It just depends on my mood.
Let's re-quote that. Sometimes I'm perfect, and sometimes that sounds normal, man.
I always love some of the messages I'll get from him.
We've always put you on that pedestal, a little higher than the rest.
It could be.
If you clip in some of those, that's going to be good.
Yeah, it could be like a video of a guy getting trampled by a buffalo, or it could be like something like Christmas with some girl in a Santa hat. And
oh yeah, whatever, right?
I love it.
And those are the mild ones. I don't even send you the ones that a lot of my friends send. Crazy bad bastards.
Your poems were pretty good too that you end up writing.
Oh, I can write some good poems.
Yeah, well, usually we're out doing something. He's like, check what Bryan just
said.
said.
Transgender fender bender.
The transgender fender bender. I write one and you can't stump the Trump.
Oh, jeez.
And there is, just so everybody knows, it is 9 in the morning, and there has been no alcohol involved in this conversation at all.
No, and I just didn't see any Trump protesters with blue hair.
You won't see many of those here, probably.
The weather's nice and warm. They always come out for that,
Oh, yeah. No, I think, yeah. Well, anyway, guys, it was good to talk.
Yeah, good to catch up, Bryan.
I got to make a couple calls here and then get back to the guys. And
will you freaking get back to work, you laser bastard?
I know.
It's only been up since 3, and it's 9 in the morning.
Well, 3:30 technically.
Well,
maybe it was 3:15. I didn't really look, but it was damn early.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
I think a lot of people were still going to bed when I got up.
I can almost guarantee there was a lot of people still going to bed because I've seen some eyes walking around here.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to be more fresh, and if I don't get sleep, I need to get at least 6 hours of sleep and not drinking when I'm sick. I mean, I've had shows where I did 3 to 4 hours a night for like 3 or 4, and I can literally fall asleep at the table.
Yeah, you'll burn.
Yeah. I mean, drinking and when you're sick is not a good combination.
No, it just wears you down even more.
Drinking and doing anything usually is not a good combination.
Yeah, I found that out the other night.
Yeah.
Well, it's his birthday, so that's
a little bit
that's
moderation, no problems. But the problem is there's not a lot of moderation at SCI shows.
No,
especially when you're hanging around with a whole bunch of other people, because it's amazing how drinks just show up. And you're not, where did this come from?
Too much
later
going
on,
on.
somebody's like,
the guide spends all of his August Stone Sheep tips on 1 week of drinks.
That's true. That's true.
Right. Bryan, good to catch up with you, man.
Thank you, guys. I
appreciate
appreciate
talking about it, man.
We'll catch you around the next show, all right?
Thank you, guys.
Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, this is Lucas Paw, host of the RNA Outdoors podcast. Please check out Podbean and iTunes. If you have an iPhone or iPad, go to the podcast app on your device, search for RNA Outdoors, and hit the purple subscribe button. When doing this, it will automatically upload when new podcasts are loaded, and they will download into your queue. For Android users, you can access the podcast through Podbean, Stitcher, or use our website, www.rnaoutdoors.com/podcast. In addition, under the RNA Outdoors podcast channel, please leave a review and a 5-star rating. These reviews help boost our popularity and outreach. You can also follow us on our social media outlets, Twitter at RNA Outdoors, Facebook, RNA Outdoors, and Instagram, Rod and Arrow Outdoors. All links are in the show notes as well. If you like what you've heard, we hope you'll pass along our channel to your friends and colleagues. Keep up the good fight. We cannot sit by and watch the public lands devoted to wildlife protection wither away. There's simply too much at stake. Make your voice heard, speak up, and get involved with conservation efforts, and know that every little bit helps. As we say on the mountain, go farther, stay longer.